Our project is exploratory. It details the life and times of William Seward Teator, an apple farmer from Upper Red Hook, New York. And the focus that we initially decided on was that we wanted to look into apples. We wanted to understand the spread and sale of apples in Red Hook and surrounding areas, and then to around the world. But when we came to the Elmendorf Inn in Red Hook, we started going through documents and we realized that we had a lot of primary resources about this one apple farmer named W.S. Teator. And as we got more into it, we realized that we really wanted to do the project about him.
The project encompasses just kind of like a little snapshot of, I feel like, this one person and his influence on his family and the entire area, and kind of just the Hudson Valley in general.
And basically we're using digital tools to paint a portrait for who he was.
I decided to do this project because, as a computer science major, I didn't necessarily have such a great understanding of the experimental humanities necessarily. And I wanted to expand my horizons into that field. I got an email saying that students were wanted for an experimental humanities winter session, and I realized that it was something I was really interested in, and I wanted to learn more because I'm considering the experimental humanities concentration.
Just hearing it in the beginning stages, it just sounded really interesting. Just having the opportunity to work with a local historical society, which is something I've always wanted to do. And I was really interested in getting more engaged with the Bard community, and especially Red Hook. I feel very attached to Red Hook, and I really wanted to learn more about the history. And this project just seemed like the perfect idea of how to go about doing that. And making a digital project is also something that I've always wanted to do. And it sounded really interesting, and just a new way of understanding the area that I go to school in.
Well, I learned how to do some fancy mapping things. I learned how to draw some lines with on CartoDB. I mean, I love just sort of learning more about interacting with primary sources, and sort of I like archives handling, and sort of learning different things, like what do you do with the paper clips, like the troublesome little paper clips that rest on the papers and make it hard to scan things. And so I feel like I learned a lot of practical knowledge in that regard, but also sort of more digital skills, and sort of more just, I don't know, I feel like I got sort of a good sampling of the mindset that you need to have when going into sort of creating a large-scale project and creating a website and things like that.
I decided to do this project because I started going to the Experimental Humanities Open Labs at the beginning of the semester, and one of the things that we were doing is kind of dissecting these different digital humanities projects. And one day Heidi said we should actually make one of these, and so I thought that that would be a good experience, and it has been.
This week I learned archiving is very painstaking, and just the number of variables that go into making a project from scratch. Just going through, we had no secondary sources. It seemed like we used primary sources for everything. So we built from nothing this whole project, which I'm really excited about and really proud of, because I feel like that's very unique to be able to go through the archives and read all the scribbled handwriting and trying to decipher what it's saying.
Over the past week, I've had the opportunity to work with our extremely skilled web developer, Ryan, and it's enabled me to learn a little bit more about HTML and some forms of coding that I wasn't necessarily familiar with before. But in terms of cataloging data entry, it's been tedious but rewarding to see our information stack up and become the wealth of information that we now have. I would say that if nothing else, working with the extremely talented people I've had the opportunity to work with has been the most valuable thing that I've gained from this.
Like, broadly what I've learned is how to represent things. And I think I've been thinking a lot about what makes sense to people and how to communicate information in a clean way that becomes really accessible. And I think that that's sort of one of the cornerstones of digital humanities, is pulling out information that otherwise wouldn't be accessible to people.
Because I think that digital history and sort of just making sort of history more accessible to everyone more generally is a very important thing, and I think that this is a good way to do it. And so yeah, I love being a part of it and I would do it again.